Hey guys. So, I want to talk to you about avatar creation. What is an avatar? So, for your business, you have somebody that you want to sell your services to or your product to, whatever that may be, and whoever they may be. Somebody out there you want to buy your stuff. And most business owners will start by thinking, my product's brilliant. Everybody will want it. And that's great. But first of all, that's probably not the case. Second of all, you're going to find that your marketing efforts are way easier the more narrow you're able to make that audience. Who's going to buy your stuff? If it's everybody, well, think about all of the different personality traits, all of the different characteristics that everybody entails. And when you're trying to figure out, well, how do I find these people? How do I advertise to them? If your target market is everybody, well, now you've got to put an ad out in magazines for, women's soccer players, and you have to put an ad out for, male chefs, and it's too much. It's too much, and so it becomes diluted. And when you're trying to talk to people, the more specific you can make your language, the more focused you can find that audience. So, in other words, the more interest you know about the very particular niche that you're speaking to, um, the more accurate you can be in where you place your message so that it makes sure that you reach them. Because, as you know, marketing, advertising, and PR take time and money. So if you're going to spend your time and your money, wouldn't it make more sense to make sure that you're making the biggest possible impact that you can with your efforts? The easiest way to do this and an essential place to start is by creating your avatar. And this is all an avatar is asking yourself, who is my ideal client? Who do I think is really going to benefit the most from the product that I sell or the service that I offer? If you're selling custom T-shirts, who will benefit most? Who will really want to buy what you're selling? Maybe you're looking at sports clubs. Maybe you're looking at schools or gym memberships or something like that, where somebody wants to have a custom T-shirt for their members or for their teammates or whatever it might be. But really think about, who do you want to talk to? Who do you relate with? And who's going of those people, has a need for what you have? We'll take Christian Works as an example. So, my target audience are Christian women business owners. So that is really specific, right? So if you take away women, right, well then it's just Christian business owners, and that's great. That's a focused niche. The more narrow you can make it, the easier it is to focus your message and to pinpoint where to deliver that message. Um, so really think about that. And if your market, if you're a grocery store or something like this, okay, so everybody needs groceries, right? That's true. But what sets your grocery store apart? Who do you want to focus on? So your grocery store, do you want to focus on those who want to eat healthy and go with a route like Whole Foods, or do you want to focus on getting bulk product out cheap, something like Sam's Club? Even though your product might be the same as someone else's, you might present it or package it in a different way, or a specific way that you can focus on who will be interested in that product or service. So what we're going to do right now, I want to walk you through an avatar and for avatar creation. And we'll just kind of look at some of the things to think about. So 1 second while I share my screen. So this is an avatar worksheet. It's a template. It's available for you for free. I'll put the link in the comments so that you can get to this. But basically what we're looking at is, this is a B2C customer profile, business to customer. So who is your ideal customer? And when you go through this worksheet, when you do this exercise, what you want to think about is naming a person. So we're not just talking about like a group, like Christian women business owners. We're going to put a name and a face with this person so that we can really get inside that head. And this is, again, your ideal client, right? Colleague of mine, Lethea Owens, founder of the Women of Audacious Faith. She's absolutely amazing and branding guru. Apologize for that. So she likes to say your divine avatar, your divine client, because we are, you know, called from God into the marketplace, and you know, who is it that God wants you to serve? So I thought that was just an absolutely brilliant way to look at it for our particular niche. Who I'm talking to are those Christian women business owners. And if you are a Christian woman in business, then you have either been called to the marketplace by God and you're following that calling, or you are in the marketplace and you're trying to abide by you know, God's messages for you. So that's another really awesome way to think about this. And just thank you so much to Lethea Owens with the Women of Audacious Faith for that idea, your divine client or your ideal client. So we're looking at your ideal client. So put a name to this avatar. Give this person a name. We have named, for this example, this person is named Addison Awesome Sauce. Okay. So what age is Addison? What gender? What's his marital status, his or hers? How many children? And you think, well, why do you need to know all of this stuff? Well, let me give you an example. So if your ideal client, in this case, Addison Awesome Sauce, is 33 years old, then we are able to get a better understanding of which social media platform this person is more likely to be using. 33 years old, millennial, is more likely on Instagram than they are on Facebook, for example. So, okay, we've already narrowed some things down. We know where to focus our advertising dollars or our time spent on social media. Let's look at Instagram. Gender. Now, in the case of Christian Works, of course, we are focused on helping Christian women, Christian business owners. This might be something that just doesn't matter to you. So you can, this might be neutral, male or female, whatever it is that works best for you, decide. And again, that's going to help you narrow down. If we're looking at women, and that doesn't mean that you can't sell to men. I want you to understand that. If we're looking at a 33-year-old married male, that doesn't mean that we can't also advertise to 24-year-old single women. It means that this is where we're going to focus and it will be a priority, okay? If you go down and just take a look at some of these items. So you've got age, gender, marital status, number of children, location. These first four just real basic metrics that any sponsored advertising, social media advertising is going to ask you for. So it's good to have that in mind. It's your like essential starter. Think about like a quote, and what this does is help you get into the mindset of your avatar. So, you know, a quote from Addison would be, keep a good attitude and do the right thing even when it's hard, which is awesome, right? But that tells us that we want to look for maybe an entrepreneur or a business person that is going to stay positive and that wants to do business ethically. These are things that are important to him. Whereas somebody else's quote might be get rich quick, and that's fine too. If you're a you know, a personal wealth coach or something like that, you know, maybe you're looking for those people that are that their motivation right now is to drastically increase their wealth, to get rich, and so that's their focus. This person's focus is doing the right thing in business, and that tells me that we're going to have some. We're looking for somebody that is interested in building a foundation in their business and that sort of thing. And in Christian Works, that's something that we like to promote. We work with strategic planning and you know, creating your business plan, creating your avatar, for example. So taking these necessary steps to build a proper foundation. And that's the kind of quote, keep a good attitude and do the right thing even when it's hard, that might be, you know, that might lend itself more to that kind of ideal client. So think about a quote for who you think your ideal client is, what their life motto might be. And that just helps you get in their head. And also, again, all of this is designed to know where to find them, how to talk to them and where to find them. You want to think about their occupation, their job title, their income. So when you are a business owner, say you're a coach, you have to set price points. If your ideal client, like you really feel like you want to help the underdog, right? That's your calling. You want to help the little guy. Well, the little guy doesn't make a lot of money. That's why he's the little guy. So if the annual income, and you can look at this either as annual income from the individual, or if you're doing a B2B customer profile, which is nearly identical, but you're thinking in terms of a business rather than an individual. If you're doing a B2B profile, you'll think about the annual revenue or annual profit. With the B2C model, we're going to look at the individual's annual income. So we're looking at $30,000, and that's fine, but it's not a lot. It's not a ton of money, right? So if you want to help the underdog, that's awesome. But you also want to make money yourself. So you've got a coaching service that you're going to sell for 25 grand. This guy's not going to be able to afford that product. So this is a way to really understand, thinking about what you're willing to sell your product or service for, and then understanding who can afford that. So why would you target somebody that doesn't make enough money to afford you? Make sense? But identifying those numbers beforehand makes your life a lot easier in the long run. You don't want to waste time and dollars on advertising to an audience that's not going to be able to afford you. So just think about this ahead of time. Let's go down and look at some goals and values. What does Addison, so these identifying goals and values are incredibly helpful, especially in your language. How are you going to talk to people? What's your message going to be about your service? Because your message might sound great to you, but if it doesn't resonate with your target audience, then what is the point? So let's look at some goals, values, and what success means to Addison Awesome Sauce. And this will help us to have the language that we need to communicate with this person. So what are some goals? Addison wants to increase business, have more time to focus on customers, and get organized. Okay, so awesome. We know now that when we are maybe creating advertising or creating a PR piece, that these are some buzzwords that we should really focus on. So if you have a social media ad that comes up and says, are you tired of being unorganized and not having enough business? Oh, look at that. We just We just focused on two of Addison's main goals. So these are his strongest desires, right, for his business, to get organized and to increase his business. And we've already touched on them like in our opening sentence. So these are essential for communication. Then we look at, so our goals, these are like very concrete things, something that you could put down on a business plan and say, this is what we're working towards. Okay, so we're looking for an actual concrete thing when we think about goals. When we think about values, we want to see, what is this individual committed to? What is Addison committed to? And in our example, Addison is committed to professional and personal development for himself and employees, providing value for clients, doing business efficiently and effectively, and providing a service to the community. Okay, so in understanding this person's values, we know that if we put out an ad that says how to make money quick, that might not resonate as well with this individual, because maybe they're focused on something a little bit different, providing a service to the community, providing value to clients. So use the language that resonates with the person that you're targeting, and really think about this. Really think about who you want to target, what their goals are, what their values are. The more detailed you can get, the easier you can speak to them. A big thing here to look at is success. What happens if Addison succeeds? And this particular area becomes very helpful when dealing with the sales process, right? When you're building those relationships and you're having those actual conversations with an individual, and you're trying to get them to understand that your service will benefit them enough so that they're going to say, you know what, that sounds, you're absolutely right. Yes, let's do this. Let's sign on the dotted line. Let's make the sale, right? This is essential in the sales process. So when you identify what success means for Addison, then you're able to talk to him in terms of, let's make sure you succeed. So what happens if Addison succeeds? What happens if your ideal client succeeds? And you can ask your clients, your potential clients, straight out when you're talking on the phone with somebody, or you've met somebody in person, and you say, hey, what does it look like? What does success look like for you? And they will tell you. And those are the things that you can then say, you know what, that's actually not what we do. We can't help you with that. If you've gotten to this point, most likely you can, and that's why you're talking to them. So you can tell them exactly how you can solve their issues to create the success that they're specifically looking for. So in our example, what happens if Addison succeeds? Well, his clients and employees have comfortable, dependable lifestyle. Because if you remember, one of Addison's values is professional and personal development for self and employees. Well, you can't have professional and personal development if you don't have a comfortable and dependable lifestyle. So success for Addison means that he will be comfortable and that his employees will be comfortable. He's going to be somebody that his employees can depend on. The community prospers. If Addison succeeds in his business and his goals, then the community will prosper. And if he succeeds, then his business is able to scale. So if you're on the phone with Addison and you say, what does success look like? And he says, oh man, success means we're gonna make a second branch. We're gonna branch out into a neighboring state and open up a third store. Then you say, great, because here's how my service is going to make it possible for you to do that. So identify success so that you can repeat it back and explain how you can make that success happen. Your challenges and pain points, again, in the sales process, this is vital in how you communicate in your message, in your advertising, marketing, and PR, as well as in your one-on-one sales conversations. Absolutely vital. This is, this is kind of like sales 101 techniques from way back. But they are still valid today, absolutely. And what we're talking about is essentially at the core of why somebody is looking for help. Why do you look for help? Because something's wrong, because you have pain, because you have a challenge. So your challenges and pain points are really at the core of why someone's going to look at your ad in the first place, or why someone's going to listen to you talk. So let's look at what our ideal customer, Addison, is challenged with. He's challenged with knowing where to start. He's challenged with finding, training, and retaining the right team. He's challenged with finding and implementing the right operations, marketing, accounting, and sales infrastructure. And he's challenged with meeting goals. So this person clearly has, it's not his strong suit to deal with the operations side of his business, okay? And that happens with a lot of people. Maybe your client, maybe his challenges might be he struggles with his weight. If this is an individual client, right? He struggles with his weight. He struggles with sticking to an exercise routine, and he is struggling with health issues right now. Those are very real challenges that you can help him to overcome. So again, knowing exactly what his issues are so that you can help him and talk to him. We look at pain points. Think of the difference between a challenge and pain point. Is challenge might be something that someone feels a little like they're uncomfortable dealing with this thing, or they just don't know how. Whereas a pain point can be a real fear. So think of a pain point in terms of a fear, and let's find out what those things are. So Addison, his pain points, he has a fear of business failing before it gets off the ground. He has a fear of not having the resources to hire the right team or build the right infrastructure. He has a fear of not knowing the right vendors, applications, or employees to choose. He has a fear of not being compliant. So that doesn't mean that he is challenged with those things, but he's afraid of them. So he just doesn't know where to start. He doesn't understand it, but he has an actual fear of these things. Okay, that's a pain point. And those are essential communication bullet points for you in your message when you're talking to this person on the phone or in person, or when you're putting out those advertisements. Just think of it like this. How many ads have you seen? Do you have a fear of your business failing? Well, hey, if that's your fear, then you're going to jump up and you're going to say, yes, I do. Yes, I do. And then you offer your solution. You guys, honestly, figure this out. What are your challenges, your ideal customer's challenges and pain points? You have to get into their head to understand this. And I will tell you what's more, and we'll have a different discussion on sales techniques and relationship building. And when you get into that area, talk about these things, bring them up, make your customer say it, make your prospect identify these things verbally with you, make them tell you what's wrong, what challenges them, what are they afraid of, what are their pain points. And when they're able to articulate it, when you make them articulate it, they will, first of all, thank you for being able to do that, for pulling that out, because maybe they didn't realize it. And then they will be grateful to you for offering a solution to these problems that they're having. So it is essential to identify these and do this early, you guys. Do it now if you haven't already. And then we're going to look at danger. So this is what happens if Addison fails. If Addison fails, he's got to go back to a 9-to-5 job. He's quit his job to go and start his own business. And if he fails, he's going to have to go back to a 9-to-5 job. He gives up on his dream. his team and clients that relied on him, they're let down. They're in financial pain. And as we know from some of these values, Addison really is committed to professional and personal development for self and employees. So if he fails to let his team down, is something that's really going to hurt him. He doesn't want that. So again, identify these things. Use these prompts to think about what your ideal client will be doing. Now, a couple more areas to consider: sources of information. And what we're looking for here is what books, magazines, blogs, conferences, gurus, who is your client reading, turning to, listening to, going to see? Because if you know what that person is reading, what website they're going to, what podcast they're listening to, what conference they're going to, then you know what book, what magazine, what conference, what website you need to advertise on. Why would you advertise anywhere other than where your client is already reading? So your client might be a doctor, right? So you think, well, I'll advertise in a medical journal. Well, okay. What if your doctor doesn't actually read medical journals? Think about yourself as a business owner and you get business magazines. Do you actually read them? Or as a business owner or with other interests, are you maybe reading something on the latest design trends? Or are you reading how to relax on vacation? Think about where they're looking. So your doctor client might not be looking in a medical journal, but he might be looking in sports, or hunting and fishing, or maybe he's looking in GQ. Just think about where your client, where his interests lie. This will help you know where to advertise and where to spend those dollars. So our example here, our avatar for this template, for a book, he might be reading something like The Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Starting a Business, or Do Better Work, which, by the way, you guys, is a fantastic book. It's by Max Yoder with Yellow Ship. Highly recommend it. But this might be something, a couple of books that they're looking at, right? Magazines, maybe he's reading Entrepreneur or Fast Company or Small Business Trends. Well, there's 3 magazines that if you're going to put a print ad, those are the ones to put them in, because that's where he's reading. So you get the idea. Think about what your ideal client's going to be looking at so that you know where to advertise. What gurus is this person attracted to? And this is important for a number of reasons. One, because here you have real names that you can look up. You can see, well, if this person is attracted to Max Yoder, where is Max Yoder? Because his audience is probably the other people that are attracted to him are probably also share similar interests with your target client. So it will help you kind of get a cross-reference and get some other ideas for where people might be turning and looking, what they're focusing on, as well as looking at what conferences these guys attend, what conferences do they speak at, what books, magazines, websites do they recommend. So by identifying the guru, this is who your ideal client is listening to. So identify the guru to identify the language that your ideal client is already used to hearing, okay? And then last, look at objections and role in the purchase process. And this is really important when it comes to the sales process. You want to know what your ideal client, what role does he have in the purchase process? So are you trying to target business owners, because a business owner's role in the purchase process is they get to make the decision, right? They call the shots. If you are targeting nonprofits, then you don't want to just talk to the executive director, right? Because maybe they have to pass something by their board. So what is their role in the purchase process? Their role is going to be your ideal client. Their role is going to be presenting your case, presenting this company to the board for approval. Maybe your client is someone who works in a company, is an employee at a company, you know, maybe a little bit further down the food chain, and they have to present your proposal to their boss to get final approval. So think about what their role is in that process, so that you know how to talk to them, because it's a difference between, hey, do you want your business to succeed? Well, if so, you need this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's for the business owner. For the employee, it's, do you want to be more respected in your position at work? If so, tell your boss that blah, 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 blah. Okay, so just, I mean, just very general terms, but it's important to know where they are in the purchasing process so that you know how to communicate to them to make that conversion. And it's also important to think about some objections that they might have to the sale so that you are able to answer those concerns. So they can't afford it. Well, what's something that you might be able to help them with there? Can you do payment plans? Can you say, you know, that's just be willing to let that client go if they truly can't afford it? Can you, or are you prepared, and you always should be prepared to tell them exactly why they can afford it? Because if you're talking to this person at this point, you should already know that they can afford it. That's why, let's scroll back up to the top. That's why one of the very first questions that we ask is their annual income, because we want to know if we've already designed, we've already done the math. What does somebody have to make in order to afford your services, right? So we've already done that math. We're already targeting these people. So we should already know that, yes, they can afford it. It might hurt a little bit. They might not want to, okay? But they can afford it. And your job is to show them how they can afford it. So be prepared to do that. They're concerned that it won't fix the problem. That might be another objection, you know, like, I just don't think that your service can fix the problem. Give your argument. You need to know that. You need to know how to respond to prove that your service that you've worked so hard on, that you believe in, or that your product that you've manufactured will indeed fix their problem. Don't want to replace my team or vendors. Well, maybe it won't replace them. Maybe it will just be a help to them, an aid to them. Let them know. It's going to take too long. Well, what's the alternative? If we don't take the time to do it right, you're going to fail, or, you know, X, Y, and Z will happen. These pain points that you're afraid of will happen if we don't take the time. So you see that having these responses ahead of time, you know, you'll be able to address these questions instead of just saying, oh, well, yeah, we do take a long time. I'm sorry, maybe it's not right. Don't do that, because you know it's right. That's why you made this service. You know it's right. That's why you manufactured that product. You're not just putting something together just to make a buck, because I wouldn't be talking to you if you were. So this is a customer avatar. It's incredibly important, and it's one of the first things that you should think about in your business, honestly. So with that, I'll go ahead and wrap it up and just say, you know, this is a free template I'm making available to you guys. Use the prompts that you see here to kind of get into the head of who your ideal client will be. And again, I'm asking you to identify an individual, put a name on it, this fictitious person, right? We've got Addison Awesome Sauce. I want you to make, you know, Mary Jane or whatever. But because don't be afraid to narrow it down to one person. This is a template. This gives you an idea, okay? It doesn't mean that you're only ever going to sell to 33-year-old women working at, Whole Foods. Okay. Um, but it means that you, as a business owner, have a really firm grasp on exactly who you're going to sell your products to. Some of the benefits of doing this, again, are you'll already know how to communicate what your message should be to attract your ideal customer. You will know that that customer needs you and can afford you. And you will know where to find them, where to advertise, where to put your message. So, in addition to that, if you are seeking financial aid, if you're looking for a loan or you're looking for, angel investors or something like that, they want this. This is part of your marketing plan. In fact, it's the very first part of your marketing plan. If you go to find a marketer or to hire a marketing agency, this is the very first thing that they're going to do. So get it done first. If you're going to hire somebody, great, then they're going to walk you through it. If you're not, it needs to be done. If you're going to be seeking investment, you have to have this because they want to know that you have a plan. This is the start to your plan. So I hope this helps. I'm, more than happy to answer any questions or help if you guys have, any issues with it or just don't know where to start or whatever. Just ask and I'll be glad to help. So I hope this is helpful. I will stop rambling. Thank you guys, and we will talk again soon.